this is such a privilege, right? This is such an opportunity for me to do something that I always dreamt of, that I always accepted was going to be hard anyway. So, what difference does it make if the world feels like it's imploding, very much like we're feeling right now? When at the end of the day, I have a goal. I'm willing to do what it takes to get to that goal, and I understood that if I was able to get to the other side during that difficult time, then I was well positioned to have much more long term success. Welcome back to the Bridging the Divide podcast. I'm your host, Rolando Bonilla. Turn on the news, it's breaking news. Bad breaking news. Turn on the news, it's bad breaking news about some global conflict, about the economy. It's global about what's happening here at home. It feels like we're in a constant negative loop. That's just the reality of where we're at right now. Now, for a lot of us business owners, particularly small business owners, entrepreneurs, the fundamental question to ask ourselves is, what do we do? What does this mean? Some entrepreneurs and small business owners, this is actually the end of the road. The negativity is too much for them to overcome. Rather than developing strategies to strengthen their organization, they kind of get sucked into that vortex of negativity, thinking that, hey, if bigger companies are having a hard time, how the hell am I going to make it? How the hell am I going to have the opportunity to build something in a time where global companies are laying off hundreds, if not thousands, of employees almost every day, is what it feels like. Well, the reality of it is, doesn't have to be that way. Most of us, we've got the grit, we've got the tenacity, we've got the vision to build. So, although times may feel extremely difficult right now, the reality of it is, it doesn't mean that this environment is not rich in opportunities for you to make your company or companies stronger, better, more resilient, and more prepared for long-term success. I touched upon this a little bit last week. The more you're able to grind out in this environment, the more likelihood you have of long-term success, because if you're able to build something in a time where things are difficult, then when things are not difficult, you are more than equipped to receive the positivity in terms of investment in dollars and customers for your company. You know, all the companies I've built, I don't never had investors. It's always been what I've been able to build one to one, or whatever dollars I've been able to put in myself. Now, mind you, just to give you context, I'm not someone that came from wealth. I probably had more. I probably had bad credit, I think, when I started. So it's not like I had a lot to put in, if any at all. But nonetheless, that is a little bit about where I am, where I was when I started, and candidly, where a lot of us are. Right, I've talked to tons of business owners out there as I travel, who have told me that they've used their credit cards to infuse some level of capital into their company to meet payroll. I've talked to folks who have taken out second mortgages to keep their dream going. I've talked to business owners who have, in order to ensure no layoffs, have cut their own salaries and made other personal um, personal sacrifices to keep their companies floating. Now, I'm not here to tell you what's right or what's wrong in terms of how to do that, but I do applaud the recognition that these difficult times are times to build and get stronger. When I started, as I was saying, about '07, '08 was the time of the housing bubble bursting and the onslaught of that recession. And I built my first major company right on the heels of that. To tell you that it was a difficult time to get people to buy into the program of being partners and working with us would be an understatement. We're talking about an economic climate where people were afraid of spending, where vast majority of homes throughout the country were upside down. Foreclosures were not just on the rise, but were reaching monumental proportions. It didn't look like there was a pathway out. We thought that we were on the cusp of another Great Depression. That's really what it felt like for many. So you'd be thinking that I, as a business owner, would kind of throw in the towel and say, hey, if everyone else is having a hard time, what chance does this kind of two-man shop at that time have in making a dent here and really carving out a name for ourselves? Well, for me, it was simple. I come from a really working class family. I grew up in San Francisco. Also lived in Richmond, California. Both cities. I was always in between, and I know what difficult looks like. Right. I know what tough economic times look like. I've lived them. I've seen them up front. And I knew that whatever I was going up against in terms of the formation of this business was never going to be as difficult as some of the things I've had to go through myself. And so for me, the mindset has always been and was always at that time, this is such a privilege, right? This is such an opportunity for me to do something that I always dreamt of, that I always accepted was going to be hard anyway. So what difference does it make if the world feels like it's imploding, very much like we're feeling right now, when at the end of the day, I have a goal. I'm willing to do what it takes to get to that goal. And I understood that if I was able to get to the other side during that difficult time, then I was well positioned to have much more long term success. That was my thinking then. That was my thinking now, right? I've lived through that. I lived through the 2020 COVID recession. Obviously, I've lived through a lot of dips in the market. I'm living through what I'm living through today. And the reason that I've been able to do I've been able to achieve a lot of what I call positive momentum is really because I've always used these times to cut out the noise. And what I mean by that is this is a great opportunity to look inward and ask yourself what's working, what's not working in the company. And I'll use a restaurant as an example. Y'all ever been to restaurants that have 15-page menus? And you ask yourself, at least I do, how good can the food really be when they have everything from seafood to Italian to American to every single possible thing you can think of in that 15 to 20-page menu? And then I ask myself, well, wait a minute. If they have these options, then they have to have that food in the back somewhere, either frozen or thawing out in some way. So, well, how good is the quality? How good is the quality in terms of what it is that they're serving me? Is it really the best dining experience for me? And then the inverse, is it really the best business opportunity for that restaurant? Like, are they really maximizing who they are? Because think of it this way, they are um, they are always having to spend money to have that food ready to go. They don't know on any given day whether someone's going to order Italian, seafood, or a hamburger. So that food's just sitting there. So think of that food is not just food, it's money, right? Money just sitting in the freezer, not working for the company, not improving the experience, not really providing any other benefit than losing its quality along the way as it's frozen. And now you've got this 15-page menu. Yeah, you got some customers, sure. But do you really have customers? Do you really have that loyal following? Are you really putting yourself in a position to really, become the best version of yourself? I have a mentor who used to say to me, Rolando, she would say to me, Rolando, do you want to be a jack of all traits and a master of nothing? Or do you want to be a master of something? And that stuck with me. That really, really stuck with me. And the reason it stuck with me was because uh, that's exactly my point, right? These moments are an opportunity, using the restaurant example, to assess your products, to assess your processes, to assess whether you how you are investing your capital, whether it be investor, whether it be your own, like most of us. This is an opportunity for you to streamline. This is an opportunity for you to reinvent yourself. So rather than seeing the world as, oh my goodness, it's horrible, what's happening, are you paying attention to what the market's actually asking for right now? And are you able to assess and adjust to those demands in order to reap the benefits of those demands? And so for those of you that take those steps of assessing and determining what makes sense for you, what doesn't, you will be best positioned to turn the negative environment that we're in into a massive opportunity in the short term and the long term, right? Are you assessing your team members? Are your team members working with you, recognizing that if you can get through this time, you're going to get stronger? Are there team members that don't get it, who don't get that it's a difficult time right now and are making life a little bit more difficult for you? I mean, if they are, that's a conversation to have, right? I mean, hey, wait a minute. If you can't, we can't all row in the same boat, recognizing that we're in tough waters, rough waters. Why are you going to be here for the good times? Right? Because making that adjustment creates an environment where you are able to really build out a team that can not only navigate rough waters, which by the way makes your team as a whole more valuable, but also makes the organization more valuable because now you know you can handle difficult times, and thus collectively you'll get through those difficult times. You'll enjoy the good times, and when the difficult times come again, because they will, you know you've got the right team in place to do that. How's your spending? You know, are you dropping dollars everywhere just because you want to have a presence? Well, this would be a great time for you to assess that those sponsorships, those I mean, yes, there's some things you're gonna do. I do these all the time because I have love of community and I want to be helpful to the next generation. But there are also some business partnerships that you really have to assess and ask yourself, is this really giving me a return on that investment? These are all legitimate questions to ask yourself right now in this climate. And look, if you're crushing it right now, you're not. You still have to be in the same conversation yourself, because if you're crushing it right now and you don't make the adjustments or at least take the time to be introspective, then when the good times come, you don't really understand why things are happening. And you never want to be in a position within your company where you don't understand why things are happening, whether they be good or whether they be bad, right? Very often when I played sports, if I threw a tight spiral, I want to understand what were the mechanics when I threw it to help me understand how to do it again. If I made a free throw, what is it that I did to ensure that I did it again? Just because I made the shot or threw the ball well didn't mean I was successful. Successful is understanding it so that I can do it again and again and again and be consistent, right? And very often, this is how I'm able to determine whether someone's serious about their business or not. If you're not able to have these types of conversations with me, then candidly, I know you're taught you're playing business, not doing business. Because if you are doing business, these are questions you're faced with every day, whether you want to have them or not. All I'm saying is grab them, organize them, and actually be thoughtful and methodical in assessing what it is these questions are trying to give you from a knowledge standpoint so that you can navigate through the current climate that we're in or future negative climates that we're in, right? So if you can't have these conversations right off the bat, I know that you're playing business and that the reality of you getting through this difficult time is pretty low, right? If at all, because these are baseline conversations you have to have. So, it's funny. I was talking to a friend this morning who was doing really well in the market, buying stocks, and he called me and he was excited, and I was really happy for him. I'm really, really proud of him too. And one of the things though I had to share with him was, he says, "Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening." And my response to him is, "I can." And the reason I could believe that it was happening is because all along the way he and I have been talking, he has made it a point to share with me that he has been doing his homework. He has been studying on the topic. He has been researching. He has been calling people with knowledge. He has been taking all the right steps to assess how to do things right. And when things have not gone so well, he's taken the time to be introspective and assess what it is that occurred and why it occurred. So when he called me this morning, he was excited. I was really happy for him. And he was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening." And I literally laughed and said, "Oh, I can." And he laughed when he said that because I've been telling him that the way he was doing it was the right way to do it. He had lessened his risk exponentially because he was doing his homework. He didn't buy into the narrative that, oh my goodness, it's a difficult time. We must save money. No, no. I mean, yes, you have to be responsible with it. You have to have a plan with it. You have to know how to operate in a good time and a bad time financially. Thus, you have to manage that. What I'm saying is he was not afraid of putting in a level of risk, but that risk was exponentially minimized because of the fact that he took his time to do his homework. And so he's getting the rewards of that homework and seeing it, right? And that was such a fun thing to experience this morning because it really goes to the point of what I keep talking about. If we, one thing I do is yes, I watch the news. I watch the news. I read the paper. I read the Wall Street Journal. I read the Financial Times. I watch Bloomberg. I read local papers. Like the San Jose Spotlight here in Silicon Valley, the Chronicle, New York Times, L.A. Times. I read all of that, but I'm obviously not reading cover to cover. But I read all of that because obviously trying to do my homework. I want to understand what's happening in the world. I want to understand what markets are doing well. Why? I want to understand, what's happening in the particular sectors that I'm in. This isn't exclusive to bad times. I think this has to be an ongoing thing if you're serious about business. I have been told many a times that I am a very intense person, that I seem to have one track mind, and that's just business. And my response is always, maybe. I love it. I enjoy it. But I also love what it's given me beyond opportunities. I love the thinking that it's given me. I love the ability to share that with others. I love it when they're doing well. And so for you, you need to use this time really asking yourself, what is working in my company? What is not working in my company? Why is this happening? Why is this not happening? And make the tough calls right now, right? Make the tough calls right now. You want that 15-page restaurant menu to maybe be one page, 3 items, but those items you do better than anybody else. That's been a part of what I do, right? And we do communications, public relations, crisis. I know in this space we are the best at what we do. It's not even a question. I know that no matter what situation I am put in, my partners will come out of it better, because this is what I do. This is what I train for. This is what I am constantly honing on a day to day. And this is something that I have learned that I can do very well. Meaning, I'm not trying to all of a sudden now be an expert in, I don't know, weather forecasting, and then an expert in, being a car mechanic. No, because it's just not plausible for me to be an expert at all of these things. You need to be the expert of your company, what it is you sell. You need to understand by the end of this who you sell it to, why they buy it from you, whether it be a service, whether it be a product. If you're not doing that type of a deep analysis, I do it every day. It's not formal. It's more of a conversation with myself. I'm paying attention. I listen to markets. I listen to what customers say. Their feedback matters to me tremendously because at the end of the day, I'm in a service business and I want them to know that I'm listening to them. It's not the one size fits all. That said, I also know when to draw a very clear line that I am the subject matter expert. And this is the best approach to take. And here's why we need to take it. And here's why we need to go in that direction. Same applies to how I operate in the company. Right? I listen to everyone. I want everyone's feedback, but I also want everyone to know that we are going in a particular direction. I'm leading in that direction. And ultimately, we all have to be in the pursuit of that goal collectively in order to make the company better. So, in a nutshell, this is not a bad time. There are no bad times. In my mind, it's just everything is an opportunity. This is your chance to look inward, assess what it is that you do, assess why it's working, why it's not working, do your research, Uh, Bad times are just that, an opportunity for you to, in some cases, reintroduce yourself to the world. In others, you may realize that the chaos of the world is the opportunity for you, and that's okay if it is. Um, and so be introspective, be thoughtful, do your homework. That is the best advice I could give you in terms of how to navigate during these difficult times. And, I hear this all day, every day right now. Is this really a good time? I have someone I knew who would always complain to me about the house of the price of property. And I remember maybe 12 years ago, oh no, when homes were in the Silicon Valley area, and for example, in San Jose, you could still buy a home for 400, $500,000, and him telling me, no, 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 it's not the right time. It's not the right time. Uh, I have to wait for the right time. And then 2 years later, homes were at 600, 700 roughly. Not the right time, not the right time, not the right time. Okay. Then a couple years later, Rolando, you don't understand. Not the right time, not the right time. Now properties were 800, 900. Uh-oh. And then finally, properties hit $1 million, and said this person goes from it's not the right time to, oh, the market conditions were always made to keep me down. No, actually, yes. That's a whole separate conversation about inequity, and and as I've said from the very beginning, what I'm trying to do with this podcast is address that, but address that by addressing the micro, in that we all have a role to play as individuals in addressing that inequity by doing our homework, taking that step, and turning conversation into action. That example I gave you is an example that I see often. This particular person could have gotten into that home at the 400, 500 range at that time. It was doable. Remember, he had family members that won't even help. But because he was waiting for the right time, it just got away from him. You don't want to be in that position in whatever it is that you do, where you're waiting for the non existent. There is never a right time. Even when things feel right, it's not a right time. I'll give you an example. Everyone now wants to be an AI, AI, AI. Everywhere I go, AI. I'm an AI expert. AI, AI. I do AI. Well, you're probably already too late, right? Because if you were truly an AI, in terms of the reaping the financial big picture rewards from it, if you were truly an AI, you would have been an AI before ChatGPT, not after ChatGPT. You're an AI now because it's everywhere. And sure, learn it, understand it. It's a part of our world now. And you will have a level of understanding, and there will be some level of, at the very least, personal benefit in understanding how it works. Or if we all recall, remember when they had those, I don't know what it was called, where you could, that monkey you could buy online. It was, I think it was a crypto, or I don't remember what it was, but everyone was buying that. Everyone was buying that. Everyone, oh, digital, this is the future, this is the future. And then it wasn't. And that's the thing, right? If you're jumping onto something because it's trendy, you're already destined to fail. You're already destined to hit your head on a wall. Um, the goal is to be so committed to what you're doing that even when it's not trendy and no one's looking, you're still invested in it. You're still looking inward. You're still doing all of that. And this is that time to do that, right? This is the time to build that and make it so that when that time comes and you make it the right time for what it is that you are doing, right? ChatGPT didn't sit around. They didn't sit around saying, "Oh, when is the right time to launch?" They said, "We're here. We're here." When none of you were looking, we were doing our homework. We were building. We were creating. Now we are here, and now the rest of the world is saying, "Oh, that's what we're gonna do." You want to be in the. There is no right time. There is no bad time. There is right now, right here, and I'm creating this market for myself. That happens now. The real test happens now when it's tough. And if you can do it now, then you were already ahead of the game. Because remember, the reason I made these examples is because you don't want to be a part of the cacophony of people who are running into the latest trend saying, I'm doing it. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're trying to ride a wave. You're just trying to ride a wave. You're not really building anything. You're trying to ride a wave. And some will reap a benefit from it. That's fine. But when that wave ends, just like in surfing, you crash out. You want to be the one that makes the waves, whether they're massive waves, whether they're massive waves in your community. You want to be the one that makes it. And this is the time to do that. All right, my friends, as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time. Until next week.